Good afternoon, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching as always. I think everybody is of the mind, even in the media, even in the Labour Party, across the board, that the Labour Party is finished. It cannot appease anybody. It's managed to annoy the entire nation, to put it mildly. And this latest thing, where France and the UK are looking to do a refugee exchange programme, one in, one out, is not going to do anything to quell dissent. What this will actually do is it may stop the small boats, because what they're going to do is they're going to do an exchange, and they can just ship people into the UK and back to France, and they can do it on planes, or they can do it in large ferries across the channel instead. And the Labour government's position and thinking on this is probably out of sight, out of mind. The same reason why the establishment puts all the migrants in hotels and not in tents like the jungle in Calais. It's not going to work. The British have had enough. We don't want our country invaded. We don't want the asylum system to be abused. And we've had enough. It's as simple as that at this point. The crime statistics for violent crimes in the UK per nationality are stark, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. How many illegal migrants, how many people that are actually legal, aren't actually contributing to the country? Now, there's always going to be an underclass in Britain, a native underclass, people that are on or around the poverty line, that are net drains on the economy. You're always going to have that in any country. Why do you need to import the entire universe to Britain? Why do you need to do that? The answer is that the establishment clearly hate their own people, especially the Labour Party. They are the absolute worst for it. They hate their working class electorate. They hate everybody in the north, and would just as soon substitute any people in the north or anywhere else in the UK for people that are more palatable at their Islington dinner parties. Again, that's just my opinion on the matter. Labour has never been a party fully in line with their working class roots. They have lessened and lessened their support for the working people over time, until now they're allowing Indians to come over to the United Kingdom and actually get national insurance paid by the company at a lesser rate than the indigenous British people. So you might not be able to get a job at a British employer, but the British employer will still be able to get people in from other places in the world, and they will have to pay less insurance to the government for employing them over people in the UK. Never fall for the line that Labour is for the British people. They are not for the British people. They are for whatever masters they serve, because it's certainly not their voters. Then you look at this particular thing, okay. Basil the Great, he seems decent enough person. I've been in a few Twitter spaces with him. Bit standoffish occasionally, but he's alright. He's a decent hag. He's on the right side of things. On the 15th of July, the government will release the immigration status on nationality breakdown for those claiming universal credit. Rupert Lowe, former Reform MP, tirelessly campaigned for the public to know the truth about this. What will the figures show? I think it's going to show a pretty much even picture to what we also know about the crime rates with migrants as opposed to the indigenous. You're going to see that the migrants, the new British, the people in my view that have no right to our money and our country, they'll be vastly overrepresented in the data, and you'll see what everyone knows, that the British taxpayer is having the piss taken out of them, and the Labour Party and the Tories just didn't do anything about it because they didn't want to take on the blob, the civil service, and they think it'll be easier to call you racist than to say, yes, we've allowed this to happen and we're not going to fix it. Because that's why they're not fixing it. It's about political will. When you look over at the continent, countries that are in the European Union, remember the big bad boogeyman we were all told stopped us from doing everything by career politicians of Labour and Tory stripe. They always said that it was the European Union that was the problem. The European Union was stopping us from doing X, Y and Z. Not really true. If you look at Poland, I think it is, they don't take any illegal Muslim migrants, and they get fined, I think it's £1 million a day for the privilege, but they don't take any in. They believe in cultural cohesion, and they're doing what their electorate voted for. And then you look at the Netherlands, alright? The Dutch Parliament has passed this week a strong asylum policy the nation has ever seen. So it's the strongest that the Netherlands, or Holland, if you prefer, have ever seen. Asylum seekers will no longer be able to... they will no longer be allowed to get permanent residency. Remember, refugees, asylum seekers, are always meant to be temporary. They are always meant to go home one day. Leftist NGOs, that's right, Hate Not Hope, I am looking at you, specifically Nick Lowell's, I am looking at you, and Care for Calais, anybody like that, they would be punished under Dutch law, under the new legislation. The Netherlands is finally waking up. It is never, we cannot do anything. It's never, we're not allowed to do anything. It's like the spineless Tories under the last Parliament. It's not that they didn't want to do it. Well, it is. It's exactly that, actually. They didn't want to do it. The King and Parliament, the King acting on the advice of the Commons and the Lords, is sovereign. Nothing overrides that. The only thing that overrides that is weak politicians. Now, if you like this video, let me know, comment below. I think when we see the benefit stats for illegals and legals, by the way, that's vastly the bigger issue, is the legal migration. When we see all of these people getting benefits, never paying into the system, taking all our money, there'll be calls for remigration. The Boris wave, for example, that Boris Johnson let in as Prime Minister, in my opinion, they should not be given indefinite leave to remain. They should go home. Boris Johnson failed the British people, failed us all, and he did it because he wanted to be palatable to the mainstream media. It's a disgrace. We need a better class of politician. Now, whether Farage does all of this when he gets in 2029 is moot. I think it's a shoo-in at this point that Reform are going to get in. Restore Britain is what I mentioned earlier this week. I think they're going to hold his feet to the fire. They're going to be putting out policy voted on by their members, and they're going to be shaping the conversation. They're going to be shifting that Overton window. And if Reform UK and their new parliament, once the uni party has been called, there's another receptacle, Advance UK. They're going to be waiting in the wings to pick up any people that become disillusioned with Reform UK. And I say this as a Reform member and voter. I want them to do well. I want them to stay true to what people want them to do. And I want them to succeed. We need our country back. I am not taking it anymore. And I'm sure lots of people on the channel feel the same. If you think I'm being too harsh on Farage, you let me know. If you think I'm overplaying the impact that Restore Britain and Ben Habib's Advance UK are going to have, you let me know. As always, I'll value input and support. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. You have a good day, and thank you for your time.